Hey guys, Connor here with UberCrit. I'm joined by Jason K of Zanrai Games. They recently came out with an awesome new game known as Stardust Vanguards, and he's here to tell us a little about everything, basically. So how are you doing, Jason?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. So, first of all, great job. Really awesome job on the game. I'm not sure
Thank
if you
you.
saw our review, but yeah.
Yeah, I totally saw your review, and me and Simon were very humbled by by your review, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the game, and one thing I just had to ask, what was your inspiration for all that?
The game is taking heavy inspiration from anime space operas especially from the 80s, especially like Gundam, Macross,
Okay.
where basically you had one commander that was usually the main character in these shows, leading in a whole bunch of cannon fodder troops, and the battles were always between the generals and the commanders, and all of the troops, unfortunately, in the middle of everything, were just kind of there for nice explosion set pieces.
Yeah.
So we went into this game kind of trying to recreate that feel from those older shows, and hopefully, the battles, even though they can be pretty hectic with a lot of troops on the field, it still feels personal between the people that are in command. So that was the goal. That was definitely the goal and the inspiration here.
You definitely did a good job on that. One thing I said when we first started it, we started playing and got into it, I was like, holy crap, this is probably the first time I've actually felt like I was really the Gundam pilot. Because I'm a huge fan of Gundam. I've built the models and watched the show for
Yeah, right on.
and,
Right on.
yeah, I was blown away. I was just like, holy crap, like, you really do feel like a big badass robot, and commanding the fleets, everything was just so well put together. Was this your first game that you've actually put together, or have you done any other small projects?
Uh, with this team, I've worked on a few things just as a contractor, just doing music and voiceover stuff for me. I, I, Simon worked for we're a two-man team. He's our programmer. He worked for a mobile company for a while. I hope I'm not leaving off anything else from his resume here, but for me, I did a little bit of contract work. Previously, I worked with Simon on a game a few years back that unfortunately failed, but it kind of got our name out a little bit. But it did fail. But we did work together on that. But this is our first title to be released under the Zanrai banner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very good job at the beginning there. 'Cause, was it just the choice to go with 16-bit? Was that for easeability, or did you actually want to physically make that choice because you like the style, or how did that go?
Oh, yeah, I love that style so much. Again, part of on one hand, on one hand, like, I really like that style. On the other hand, there's coming off of that project that failed previously. We bit off way more than we could chew. Like, we had gone after like a big, heavy 3D, like really pretty game, and I was very proud of that. But unfortunately, it was so massive, it kind of fell down under its own weight. So with this project, we said, hey, let's have a really focused game. Let's really focus on like a very carefully crafted, focused graphical style. And 16-bit art, it's not as intensive to create as 3D stuff. With regard to like having people available to do like the model texturing and stuff like that way, I could just handle all the art. Like, I didn't have to worry about having multiple people in roles. Okay. So the 16-bit art style, I have a definite love for it personally, and it's also, there's a practical side of it that I think the game, if it was anything but the style that we chose, would be almost too much to take in. It really helps having it in this style to simplify like what you're looking at, because there can be a lot of stuff on the screen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like Yeah, so like it helps in that regard because everything is very at a glance identifiable. And I think what's come out of this is the game looks like a Super Nintendo game, just like modernized, like with the ability to have so many ships on screen at the time. So like I think that really that style, that kind of 1990s arcade, Konami arcade style, like that was definitely a big goal to be looking at to try and get the graphical style down. So that's really there's a lot of practicality in that decision, but there's also there's definitely a love that comes from that era that both me and Simon had.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I think it was a smart choice because one thing I noticed, even on smaller computers, it's able to run without frame rate drop, even when everyone calls in their fleets and the pirates come in, and we really enjoyed that the mayhem didn't stop when you did everything else. So
yeah, I'm really glad about that. That was a little scary for me personally because I didn't know if there was a while during testing I wasn't sure if we had a pirate event launching. So like for people that don't know, like pirates can launch attacks also that are separate from players. So I wasn't sure if 4 players launched maximum reinforcements at the same time and if pirates came in at the same time, like if the game would just stop.
Yeah.
But fortunately it looks like with our balancing we were able to get things running pretty decently. So fortunately we haven't had any problems with performance.
Yeah, it was
so far.
Our other reviewer, Andrew, we were all playing it together, and he was like, wait a second, we gotta put this thing to its limits, and he just, he put the max RP on, and we just all of us right at the beginning just shot them all out and started fighting and duking out. We're like, it still works.
Yeah, like I've seen some of those matches. I thought I'd put the game through its paces with testing, but I've seen a couple of matches people have posted online of they did a custom match with as high RP as you can get, as high reinforcements as you can get, as many bullets as you could get on screen, and it still seems to run.
Yeah.
So I'm a little surprised personally that we aren't having issues with that. But our programmer is super good, so I give him the credit on hammering out Simon.
Props,
dude, you're awesome. So he got everything running nice and smoothly.
All right, awesome. And I noticed that you guys were having it in the competitive scene in New York. Is there any plans for it to go anywhere else?
Yeah, we were very fortunate to be asked to include Stardust Vanguards in the IndieCade East esports showcase that's coming up. I believe it's the weekend of Valentine's Day around there. It's also, unfortunately, the day before is Friday the 13th. So I hope everything goes well. We would really love to do more aiming at competitive play. Right now, outside of that, we really don't have too many plans in that regard. Really, that's it. To be honest, that's it. But we are definitely looking at any opportunities that come our way. We definitely love to do that.
Immediately when I saw the game and started playing, I was like, this really feels like it gets super competitive. I just love the fact that it's down to skill. There's not a huge amount of luck into it. That's what I noticed when playing it.
Yeah.
If you make the decisions correct, it was there. So.
Yeah, I think I personally like the fact that if you mess up, it's on you. Yeah. I think there's a lot of, again, coming back from that kind of 16-bit era, that was the status quo. That was how the games were back in the day. I think now games are a little bit more forgiving, and so I think there's a lot of players that I think they don't like. I think there's a lot of people that don't like that regard. We've had a couple of complaints where people were, when you spawn in the game, you start with a shield. As soon as you push a button, it unshields you, and a lot of people I think are frantically pressing buttons and accidentally unshielding, and they'll get a spawn kill. But we've kind of created a system so that it is, I hate to say it's on you, but you are in complete control of how the game unfolds. So but the good thing about it is that because that kind of brutal sense of punishment and reward is there's a big sense of increasing your ability and your skills. So you'll see a big improvement as you play the game just a little bit. So it's I think it's rewarding in that regard, because it's very easy to kind of see, oh, I messed up there. Okay, I'll do that next time. So I think that helps make it a little more competitive.
It was definitely. I love that spawn kill thing, because we noticed that the game is definitely a good rage inducer to some people, and my friend was like, I keep getting spawn killed. I was like, if you don't touch anything, you're safe, right? And then he's like, what? And I was like, yeah, your shield doesn't go away immediately. And then he realized that, and he started playing way better. It was very funny.
Yeah, like I feel bad. Like on one hand, like I don't want people to get frustrated, but the game is set up so that it rewards precision. So when you spawn, like just take a breather, like you're okay. Like a lot of times people play these types of games and think like, oh, I'm just gonna get really into it and mash buttons and go as much. This game is a little bit more subtle in that regard. Like you need to, if you hang back, a lot of times you can just like hang back, let your reinforcements do the fighting for you. And like there's some instances where like maybe charging in isn't the best strategy. So it really, if you just hang back and calmly contemplate what's going on, I think you'll stand a much better chance in the game.
Yes, definitely. I noticed a very heavy bullet hell influence. Do you play bullet hells, or have you always had like a certain idea for it?
Again, the game we came off of that failed when we were doing this was a shoot 'em up. So I think we kind of carried over a lot of shoot 'em up elements into this game, kind of inadvertently. Once the bullets started flying, it really does feel a little bit like a bullet hell game. I love bullet hell games. I know they're not exactly approachable to most people, or a lot of people don't like them, but I love them, and you definitely can see that influence in there, I think.
Yeah, hugely, especially if you put on infinite ammo.
Oh yeah, you might as well be playing a bullet hell if infinite ammo is on.
Yeah. 4-way bullet hell is just everywhere. Oh man, it gets so intense. I loved it. One character I just had to ask, what made you decide to go ahead and make blue genderless?
That was Simon recommended that. At first, I had the characters. I drew out the characters, and we just had the blue character with a mask on, and we thought it would be cool just as a means of just to have one character that it's like these characters, even like with Samus in the old NES. Yeah. Version, like it was always kind of a point of intrigue to know who is this. And so in that regard, we kind of were putting up our own little mystery as well. One thing I really enjoyed about that character is I really didn't know how to record we have voiceovers for all the characters, so it was like, how do you record a gender neutral character that it's ambiguous? Like it could be male, female, or both, so like we don't specify. So what we ended up doing, I recorded male lines and we had female lines for it, and we kind of spliced them into one another. So it's this kind of like I looked at like robotic filtered sounds, and it just sounded a little bit odd. So it probably no one will notice it, but it's using a spliced like male female recording. I thought it was kind of cool, like mixing it together. I was like, that's interesting.
That is pretty cool. It took more thought than just making the character's bio say just that. That's neat. That's cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, all of our characters have like, while it's not entirely obvious, and it's definitely not like a story-driven game or anything, but I had a little framework of, hey, this character is kind of an asshole. This character is kind of smug and traditional, and so like we kind of rolled with that. It may not be too obvious, but like we had a running idea of how the characters needed to look or act, and they even respond in that kind of way in their little avatars and stuff. Like when they're dying, like I think the red guy we wanted him to appear a little bit more smug than the other characters. So like when he dies, he has kind of a more of a less of a shocked look as he's dying and more of a grimace, like I messed up. So it's kind of like really, it's minor, but we thought about it. We're giving the game some love in that regard.
Yeah, I really love those little portraits there. It kind of gives that, it kind of harkens to kind of like Star Wars, where they had those face shots in the TIE fighters and the X-Wings, and then whenever they died, it's just the whole thing statics out and they go out and fade. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, I had a blast animating those. Like one day, I was like, "This is completely superfluous," but I'm doing it anyway. And then
it adds to it. It definitely gave a more in-depth feel. So it was a good choice on your part.
I appreciate it.
So, what would you say to new developers or indie developers on when they're making their game? What would you give them as advice or just as a go-to?
Don't bite off more than you can chew. Like start with a focused game, and don't do like what we did. We spent 2 or 3 years on a project that ended up failing, only to be like, okay, we need to focus. So start focused, and then that will make your life so much more drama-free.
That's good advice right there. I guess last question here. What is your favorite game mode? Why? And who's your favorite character?
Oh my. I really like the standard deathmatch mode because I feel like it is probably the purest way to play the game, and it's balanced. The game we tested it so much that it's really balanced with regard to not only the players' abilities to fight, but the way that reinforcements are kind of handed out. I'm really proud of the fact that mode, like for each number of reinforcement units that come in, it's the game is offering additional opportunities for other players to earn reinforcements. So like in that regard, like the game kind of balances itself out even when someone has an advantage with higher troop numbers. With regard to characters, I guess I really like the green character. Like he was the first character we focused on, and just as like our default character, like all the colors, like we're using palette swaps, so everything is green because that was the first guy we started with, and he holds a very special place in my heart just because he's kind of the first that we were working on.
I feel that much better about playing the green guy now.
Oh, yeah, green all the way.
All right, awesome. Thank you for joining us so much, Jason.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it.
And it was awesome. It was great to hear about the game and everything about it. And so, I mean, like we said, we really loved it, and we've been playing it just about every day whenever we get together now. It's really fun.
I'm so happy to hear that. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. And this has been Connor from UberCrit, and hopefully you'll join us for the next one. I hope you enjoyed this with Jason. And check out Stardust Vanguards on Steam, and is it on Desera as well?
It's on Humble. It is on Humble. Humble Store.
All right, Humble and Steam. All right, thank you, Jason. You have a good day.